Hey guys, Metal Jesus here, and I'm back again with Kelsey.
I'm back.
Yay!
Today we're going to be doing an Xbox One buying guide. We're going to cover the hardware, the Xbox One, the Xbox One S, the Xbox One X. We're not going to make a single mistake in all of these Xbox names.
I will.
Whatsoever. And we're going to talk about some accessories.
Yep.
We're going to recommend you some games and talk about some stuff to look out for.
Let's take a look. So we're going to start with the console. We have 3 of them here.
Yeah, and we're going to do our best to demystify all of these for you because they made so many different models and
Yes.
they're not very good at naming them. So
No.
The first one here, this is just the Xbox One. This is the one that came out in 2013. It's what people call the VCR. It requires a big power brick. The power unit exists like outside of the console. And then the other way to tell that it's this one is this button doesn't press. So to turn it on is like a touch sensitive button.
And you can also tell that it's interesting in its design on the top. It has that two-tone kind of, it's got that big vent essentially right there. And
yeah. These big like diagonal lines as opposed to
these holes here on this one. I have an old school VCR, and my VCR I think is actually smaller than this. It's crazy how big this thing is.
Huge, and it's pretty heavy too.
Yeah, totally.
So then next we have the Xbox One S, and this is it's just a smaller version of the Xbox One. There is a couple little upgrades with it. It does 4K upscaling, which is mostly just for
like movies or something.
Yeah, watching
Blu-rays.
Netflix, watching Blu-rays, that sort of thing.
And it's important to know that there are 2 versions of the Xbox One S. You see that I have the one that takes physical media here, which is really cool. But they also have an all-digital version of that as well, as if things weren't confusing enough.
There's 2 Xbox One S's as well to look out for.
Yeah.
But it's a lot smaller and more compact. It fits a little bit easier.
And the power supply is built into this, so you just need a cable, which is really nice.
Yeah, just a normal power cable.
Yeah.
Polarized or non-polarized. I can never remember which one is the figure 8, but it's the figure 8 one.
Yeah. And then this one right here, this is when I jumped into this generation. This is the Xbox One X. I had to make sure I didn't say Series X.
Yeah, which is a totally different thing and not what we're talking about. That's the Series X,
yes.
and that's not the same console.
Not this video.
It's so confusing. The Xbox One X is like the true upgrade, right? Like
it is. Yeah, this is where they put a lot of power into the GPU in here. It is a true 4K gaming console, which is the reason why I jumped in, because I started watching a bunch of videos where people were comparing it to the PlayStation 4 Pro, and this one often came out ahead, like in frame rates and stuff like that. So that's like, oh, okay, I'll get an Xbox, So this is actually a really good console.
Yeah, and I think technically it is a little bit more powerful than the PS4 Pro, right?
I think technically it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this first one here was originally bundled with a Kinect. Microsoft really just wanted to kind of make this your all-in-one everything. I mean, we're kind of back to the 90s with your multimedia system kind of thing.
Hence the name, because I remember at the time I was like, Xbox One. No, this is not. This is your
third one.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's weird though, because on the back of this, it has an HDMI in, which is something you don't typically see on a console.
Yeah, so if you're having trouble connecting this to your TV, make sure you've looked to see that you put your HDMI cord into HDMI out to TV and not HDMI in cable.
And to your point about connecting to the Kinect, essentially, that there is a special port on the back of the original to use its own version of the Kinect.
Yep.
Which we'll get to, I guess, in accessories, probably. Yeah.
This is the only one that has the port for the Kinect. The other ones you need an adapter for. We'll cover all that later.
Yeah. So you own a game store, and I'm very curious about several things. One, do you sell these often?
Actually, pretty often, just because they're so cheap now.
Right. Okay.
So we sell Xbox Ones, just the base model, for like $80 right now at the time of recording this, with a controller and the cord. So I think a lot of people pick that up just because it's, it's only one generation back, and it's for $80, that's a pretty good.
Especially if you want like a second one. So let's say you have a newer console, Xbox or whatever, and you want like a game room or a kid's room or something like that. $80, often with a controller. That's a heck of a deal.
And the controllers are good for other things too. I mean,
Yeah.
they're a very good controller for PC as well.
So let me ask you, you guys repair consoles. I mean, do you often have to repair these, or what sort of things do people look out for?
Yeah, there's a couple things that can go wrong with these, and unfortunately, most of the fixes they're right at the point right now where it's like more expensive to fix than it makes sense to do.
Yeah.
So we kind of have a lot of them just sitting around right now that are broken. But some of the things that go wrong with this, I feel like the one that I run into the most is the hard drives failing.
Okay, I could see that. I mean,
yeah.
hard drives do fail, and these are the mechanical, old-school hard drives.
Yeah, and so what that will typically look like is when you boot it up, you'll just kind of have like the Xbox logo that just doesn't go away, and sometimes there'll be a little error code or something. That's what it usually manifests as. Sometimes you'll hear like a clicking noise as well, but that's probably the most common thing that can go wrong.
Interesting.
If you're buying one of these, and especially if you're planning to play it, play some games that may need you to go online or something like that, you do probably want to check to make sure that your console hasn't been banned from the internet. So sometimes if someone's hacking or just some other, it's stolen or something like that.
So they ban the hardware.
They can ban the hardware. Yeah. So you want to make sure that your Xbox can still connect to the internet too. And then finally, at least with this original model, the power supplies go bad sometimes too. And it's misleading because a lot of times they'll still light up. Like you'll still see, there's a little indicator light on the power cord, and you'll still see the indicator light up, but it's not actually bringing, I guess, enough power to the system. I'm not exactly sure what's happening.
You know what? That reminds me of my Commodore 64. Had really bad power supplies back in the 80s, and you would look like it would work, and so that's a very common thing. Oh, okay, well, Microsoft's bringing back the 80s.
Yeah, so, if it's not turning on, or it doesn't seem like it's turning on, it might be worth just trying another power supply, make sure that's not the issue.
Interesting. Huh.
Sometimes there's issues with the HDMI port as well, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, most of these, unfortunately, are, if it's your own personal one and, you already own it, fixing it might not be, a terrible idea, but when it comes to, like, purchasing one and then having to fix it, you're going to be looking at a decent amount of money.
Okay, well, that's cool. All right, well, next up, let's check out some accessories. All right, in front of us, we've got some accessories here. You brought lots and lots of controllers.
Well, they made so many frickin' controller, special edition controllers here. So many cool, pretty ones.
Yeah, so many cool ones.
So, I don't know. I think it's cool to at least show off that there's a lot of cool controllers to collect, all kinds of colors and styles.
And there's some differences between those because they did many different revisions of this during the life of the Xbox One. Yeah,
so there's two basic revisions of the controller. I think technically there's a weird third one in the middle of there too, but you've got two basic ones. This is the original one right here. The model number on these is usually 1537. That's printed on the back. You can always take this battery thing off and take a look at those. The difference between this and the newer model ones, there's a couple differences, but this one does not have a headphone jack at the bottom, the original one. So there was like a headphone jack adapter or microphone headset adapter that you could plug in here and it would add a headphone jack. This one just came with it automatically, that second revision. The newer revisions also have built-in Bluetooth, so they connect to your PC and stuff a lot easier. And these all take micro USB. So it's an Xbox One as opposed to an Xbox Series controller if it takes a micro USB at the top here. Again, you can always, if you open up the battery well here, you can read some information about it too, which is very nice.
I actually like personally that these take real batteries.
Yeah, so these just take two AA batteries, which there's pros and cons to. Obviously, the cons are that you do have to replace the batteries sometimes.
Or you leave them in too long and, because I do have many different controllers and I'll forget and 2 years will go by and I'll be like, oh, that one leaked.
Yep. Do you know about how to clean battery acid easily though?
I don't.
Little bit of white vinegar, it'll dissolve all of that. You got to be a little careful with it. As long as it hasn't, sunk down deep into the controller, you can usually just kind of dissolve
You guys probably deal with that a lot.
We do.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about this is as long as you do remember to take those batteries out, you're not going to have the problems that things that have built-in batteries have, which is the swelling and the, you can end up with some of the Sony controllers or Nintendo. I haven't seen it as much in Nintendo controllers, but like with some of those ones with built-in batteries, they can actually end up swelling and cracking the case and stuff too.
Lithium-ion batteries will all eventually fail.
Right.
I mean, they just will. And so everything that has that will eventually fail and not take a charge.
Yeah.
And
they do make replacements for those. But,
right. But it's not as easy as this. So
you do have to
it's a pros and cons for sure.
Yeah.
Now there are a bunch of third-party controllers. I have a couple here. One of my all-time favorites, I think so many people were surprised to see this, is the Hyperkin Duke controller.
This is so funny to me. I as someone with small hands, I don't really understand why we've gone back to this.
No, I completely understand because I love. Look at this thing. I know it's like a spaceship. It's hilarious, but this is a really cool controller because you can use it with Windows. You can use it with the Xbox One. It has this little screen where it lights up when you turn it on. But I think most people are probably going to go for something like the 8-Bit Dough, which is a company that a lot of people really love their controllers. They do them for the Switch and Xbox and Windows and stuff like that. And so they're cool because like this one right here is kind of in the style of the Switch Pro controller.
Yeah.
And that one's kind of like a retro styled one.
Yeah, these are cool. The one thing you want to make sure you're looking out for when it comes to third-party controllers, because there's a lot of really awesome ones, but Microsoft has been cracking down on unlicensed third-party ones.
Okay.
So if you're not like officially licensed, you see all of these boxes have that like design for Xbox thing on it. That's totally fine. But some of the like kind of random cheap ones you might get off Amazon or something, they might not necessarily be licensed. People are currently having mixed results with whether or not they work, and Microsoft has come out and said that they're planning to make sure that those ones don't work. So you want to make sure you have a licensed one.
It was also during this time that Microsoft did something kind of surprising, and that they released the Xbox Adaptive Controller. So this is a special controller designed for people who have limited mobility or probably need more flexibility in how they play their games. And as you see from the screenshots here, this has a really wild look to it, but what's even cooler is that it functions like a controller hub. So you can use your own third-party buttons and controllers to truly make it your own. So that was a really cool option that Microsoft made here. And then we have to talk about, is this the elephant in the room? The Kinect?
It's as big as an elephant.
Look at this thing, it's hilarious. So the Kinect is a really interesting technology. They originally debuted it during the Xbox 360, and it sold fairly well. The controversy with this, though, is that they originally made it mandatory when you bought the original Xbox One.
Oh, they did so much weird mandatory stuff with the original Xbox One, like it being always online and constantly checking to make sure you're online.
It costs $100 more than a PlayStation 4 because this had to be included in there. I mean,
of this thing that most people really didn't want. I mean, again, the idea for this system was that it was your all-in-one entertainment thing, and you'd tell your Kinect and turn on the sports game or whatever.
Right.
But
it's weird to have a camera staring at you the whole time, and that was a concept I was not cool with. I was just like, it seemed kind of weird. I wasn't willing to pay more for this, even no matter how cool this actually is. But yeah, it's just sort of a weird accessory, but there are some things to know about it. For instance, this mess of cables here.
Yeah, so the original model of the Xbox has a port to take the Kinect here, which is a very silly like L-shaped looking cord right here. The other Xboxes don't have that input anymore, so you have to get this funky adapter, and boy do I mean funky. It is 2 boxes and several cords, and it is just this giant mess of a cable that you will need to plug the Kinect into and then plug into your system and make sure you have all of these things straight here. So, I mean, there are some games that use the Kinect. It's not like a useless accessory, and they're really cheap now, so I mean, it's certainly worth like playing around with. But yeah, it was dark times for the Xbox One, I think.
But the good news is that Microsoft kind of read the room a little bit, and they eventually patched it out. So essentially when you put an Xbox One, onto the internet, it downloads an update and it makes it so that you don't have to use this at all. Now, I'm kind of curious, when you sell Xbox Ones, do people ask for this? Do you include?
No. No, I wish more people would ask for them because
probably have a ton.
I have a small mountain of them. But yeah, you know, if it's I think it's an accessory worth checking out, but
Yeah.
it's probably, you know, you're probably not going to get a ton of use out of it.
One of the cool things about the trivia with this is that we continue to use it even to this day, because I was really surprised to read Apple bought the company that made this technology and integrated it into the iPhone FaceTime ID camera.
That's so cool. And
Yes.
I've also, I think it's happening less now, probably because Apple owns it or whatever, but for a while, there were people purchasing these
Yes.
for medical
Yeah.
camera things. And I went to the zoo once and they had a Kinect set up for you spread your arms and you'd have wings.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, I mean, there is a lot of technology packed into this, and I don't know how much these go for, probably $5-10 now. You know, that's you can get a lot for almost no money. So it's definitely an interesting part of Xbox history that you don't have to put up with anymore, which is really nice.
All right, we're going to talk about some games. And like everything else with the Xbox One, this is also complicated. So I'm going to start by showing you the multiple different types of boxes you may encounter when looking for Xbox One games. So the first is our true Xbox One case. It literally just says Xbox One on it. This is your most obvious one.
That's how it should be.
That's how it should be.
It should not be complicated.
But ever since the Series X and Series S came out, they've made some kind of complicated changes. So you sometimes have these ones that just say Xbox on the top, and underneath it, it says Xbox Series X and Xbox One. This will work on both. It'll be optimized for Series X, but it will work on both. And then you have a step backwards, which is really weird.
Yeah, this is weird.
So this one says Xbox One and Xbox 360, and inside are Xbox 360 discs. Now, the Xbox One is partially backwards compatible. It's a by game thing. I believe it's something like 60-something original Xbox games, and then into the 200s of Xbox 360 games that are backwards compatible. Some of those are digital only, which is a bummer.
You have to go to a website to figure all this out. It's like arrows and direct. Yeah, it's
There's
crazy.
a great list just on Wikipedia that will also give you, any weird quirks. Like there are some original Xbox games that work, but may have some graphical glitches and that sort
Or
of
maybe
thing.
like a download that or something like that.
Yeah.
Pop it in a disc or something. Yeah.
So this one's really weird, but this will work on, if it's coming in a box that says Xbox One and Xbox 360, then that is one of the backwards compatible games that'll work on your Xbox One. Finally, you have something that will not work on your Xbox One.
Yet it looks so similar to the other.
It looks exactly the same. The ones that say Xbox Series X and do not also say Xbox One, those won't work on Xbox One. Those are only...
How much of a pain in the butt is this for you as someone who sells games like this?
It's the worst.
Yeah, I mean,
I barely understand it myself.
it must be where people come up to the counter and be like, do you double check them and go, hey, are you actually buying this for Xbox One or Xbox Series? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I try to only do it with Series X games because that's the only one that actually is going to be
That's true.
non-compatible
That's
there.
true.
But yeah, I do often have to make sure, hey, are you buying this? Do you have a Series X or do you just have an Xbox One X? Because those aren't the same thing.
Microsoft.
Anyways, let's
better.
talk about some games.
Yes, definitely. So here's the thing about the Xbox One is that a lot of these are available on other systems. And we know that. And
Even a lot of the exclusives, they're still, you can still play them on Steam or
Yeah.
through Windows in other means.
Yes.
So
However, often, especially if you get the Xbox One X, this might be a really good version to play, because that's the version that I played back in the day. It was slightly better than the PlayStation 4 Pro, maybe. And the other thing is that they're often really cheap.
yes, yeah, all this stuff is very, very cheap right now. So
Yes.
it's a good time to get in on it.
Starting with Sunset Overdrive.
This is a launch game.
When this came out, actually, by Insomniac, a lot of people were like, what? Xbox One exclusive at the time. And essentially, this is such a crazy game. It's kind of like Infamous mixed with Saints Row. And maybe a little bit of Tony Hawk thrown in there. It's crazy.
Yeah,
So,
it's a super fun action game, and you get weird weapons like a gun that throws CDs at people. And
or you launch bears that explode, or like teddy bears that explode and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
It's really fun. Quantum Break. This is made by Remedy, which also made Control and Max Payne. And what was the other one? I'm trying to remember now.
Alan Wake.
Thank you. But Quantum Break is a really trippy kind of third-person shooting game that deals with time travel. Beautiful graphics, actually a really cool game. Not a lot of people talk about it anymore, so it's kind of cool. I love racing games, and when I bought my Xbox One X, I played Forza games. And Forza games are amazing on that system, especially Forza Horizon 4 and 5. Highly recommended. These are open world, arcade-ish kind of racing games, and then you just have Forza Motorsports, which is also a little bit more like Gran Turismo. So again, more excellent games here.
Yeah, your Motorsports are your like racing sims, and your Horizons are your like racing arcade.
And I prefer more arcadey for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But both are good.
Yep.
We've got some Halos on the Xbox One.
What? Halo on Xbox?
Believe it or not, yeah. This is the Master Chief Collection, so it is Halo 1, 2, 3, and 4.
That's a heck of a deal.
Yeah. Halo Wars 2. Have you played the Halo Wars games?
Not yet. I bought that intending to do that because I do like strategy games. It's just that there's such a time commitment.
Yeah, and these play surprisingly well for a console real-time strategy,
I've heard
which
that.
is a hard, that's maybe not the most exciting thing to say in the world, but like, they actually play pretty well.
No, it's true, because usually strategy games on the PC are mouse and keyboard, because you're having to deal with a large amount of characters, and so those games are known for mapping all that to the controller really well and making them very like accessible that way. This is a game, I have the one that has both of them on there, but the Rare Replay, when that came out, people were very excited for that.
I mean, it's great. In what other way can you play all of these Rare games all together again?
Yeah.
And it's, I believe it's 30 games, and once again, I think as of the recording this video, I think this collection of both Rare and Gears of War Ultimate Edition is like $9, $10, something like that.
That's a ton of games.
Yeah, it's again, it's a weird console to collect for, but if you start collecting for it, you'll be able to stack up the games like.
I mean, this is a type
fast.
of console, when you go into a pawn shop and if they've got those there, and it's for a couple bucks, you're like, yeah, I'll take them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And there were, of course, lots of Gears of Wars.
Yes, and again, it's just one of those machines that does that very well. My buddy Paul also loves these games. I usually watch him play because he's into the characters and the stories and stuff. So yeah. Okay, so recently I went back, very recently, and replayed all 3 of these Tomb Raider games. I love these games, and they're such cool reboots of the franchise. Epic in every way, gorgeous graphics. They remind me of the Uncharted series.
Yeah, a little more cinematic than they were in the past.
Yeah, definitely adding some RPG elements in there. Love the characters and the story. So many people are talking about Fallout with the show and all that sort of stuff, but I think people forget that the Outer Worlds came out, also made by Obsidian, which made Fallout New Vegas.
I still need to play this.
This is so good. This is actually, I think this is better than Starfield. Like
I don't know that that's a super high bar.
Well,
but...
I'm just saying, I agree with you, but I mean, like, so many people are so hyped for Starfield, and I feel like, dude, just go play this game. Like, this game is so good, and the sequel's coming. I can't wait to play it.
And again, all the ones that you're showing here, all of this stuff is so cheap right now.
Yeah.
It's such a good time to just, if you really want to catch up on some of the best games of the last generation, it's a great time to be doing it.
Yeah, or maybe some games that you didn't pick up and play, like Mad Max. So this is an open world Mad Max game. Gorgeous graphics, runs really great on the Xbox One X.
I love to see a licensed game actually be super good again.
Oh, dude, this is such a good game too, and it kind of flew under the radar a little bit. And again, you can usually find it really cheap. When Mass Effect Legendary Edition came out, I replayed this as well. I was so excited for this because it's Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. They added a bunch of, they updated the graphics, and they also integrated in a lot of the DLC. So like when people complained about the third game and the ending, well, this has that DLC that they released afterwards to make it better. So I enjoyed playing that. Red Dead Redemption 2, a classic.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much game in this game.
Oh yeah. This is the type of game where, I don't know about you, but sometimes you know how you can fast travel in games? I purposely don't in this game. Because I'm just going to be on the horse and I'm just going to cruise around like I'm living, 150 years ago. It's awesome.
You know, I'm not someone who loves driving or gets the appeal of driving long distances, but I think I do get the appeal of riding a horse long distance.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. It's one of those, you just kind of want to chill out, and just take in it because it's such a beautiful game and stuff like that.
And because it's Rockstar, like you might be on a very long journey to somewhere, you're going to see 10 interesting things on the way.
Yeah. Or get attacked by some random people. This game, I feel like people are starting to pick up on Titanfall 2. At the time, it was a complete failure, but it has one of the best single-player first-person shooter experiences I've ever played.
I've heard nothing but good things about this game.
It is so good, and it's such a bummer that people didn't play it. I think it's because the first game was multiplayer only, and it didn't do as well as they. It
is confusing because I definitely thought it was multiplayer only when it first came out. So.
Yeah, this is an amazing game. I played and beat it several times now, and again, if you can get it cheap on the Xbox One, you're gonna have a great time.
And then I guess the last thing we should probably mention is Game Pass.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't, it's not very collector friendly, and I know that we're doing a buying guide, which is more geared towards collectors, but there is also Game Pass, which is a cool service that Microsoft offers where you can pay a monthly fee and get a ton of games. You don't own them. They could take them from you. But if you just want to catch up on some games, I mean, it's a really good value.
To be honest, so I have Game Pass.
I do too.
And I use it almost like a demo or something, a try before you buy sort of thing. Because I'll try playing games that I wouldn't necessarily be interested in. And if the physical version comes out later, I'll be like, oh, cool, I want to own that.
Yeah, I've bought a bunch of things that way where I've tried the game for a little bit and then maybe there was like a limited run version or just a physical version later, and then I'm like, Well,
and to your point, they'll take games away every once in a while, and that's when I'm like, man, I really need to own that.
Exactly.
That's when I try to find the physical version of it. So at the end here, we have to decide which one of these consoles do we recommend you pick up. I think for me, it's going to be the Xbox One X, just because it's more powerful. And I think it's a little bit more future-proof if you get a 4K television, or you maybe want, the most like frames per second or all that sort of stuff, or the best performance from your games.
Yeah, and I will say that now these have gone down quite a bit in price. When they first came out, it was a hard sell for me because
to get the Xbox One.
It's so much more expensive for some pretty substantial upgrades, but it's still like the same console generation. So that was kind of tough for me, but now they've really come down in price, and I think used, it's totally worth it. But I think honestly, if you're just not sold on the Xbox One ecosystem at all, but you want to give it a try, I mean, you can't go wrong just picking up one of the original models, or even the S's don't tend to be that much more expensive, and just giving it a try because they really are so cheap right now. And even if you never end up using it, I almost guarantee you'll end up using the controller because the controller is very good.
It is very good. I was just thinking too, I mean, it's a cheap Blu-ray player that also plays games, right? So that could also work for it. The other thing too I'm thinking is that, if you don't have a large 4K television, then you probably won't see the benefit of the One X. So if you have a smaller, 42-inch television, if that's considered small,
It's so funny that that's considered small.
I know.
But
But there may be no reason to do this because you might be doing all your gaming in 1080p.
Right.
And that's totally fine. So, that's cool. Well, I'm glad that we are finally able to do this buying guide.
Yeah.
I know. The time was right.
And I think it's almost good that we waited a little bit because now it really is so cheap. I mean, it's tough to recommend this when it was like $400. It's a lot easier now that it's gone down quite a bit.
That's true. So where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, not many places right now. I'm pretty off the internet at the moment, but I am on Blue Sky. If anyone's on Blue Sky,
I'm on Blue Sky.
Yeah, Kelsey Lewin, bluesky.social, and then I am on Instagram at Tentakels, and I have a book coming out soon. So,
that's right.
Yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. I wrote a book for Boss Fight Books.
That's awesome. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and take care.